Um, Again, going back to what I didn't have. My mom was there all the time, but my mom worked sometimes 2 jobs. She would work long shifts. So I kind of grew up as they called it latchkey kids back in the day. I used to come home at 7 years old by myself. 9 years old, I've been cooking and pretty much taking care of myself in the evenings since I was a young man, because my mom had to be out there and work. So I think about me, I'm out grinding, doing different things. So I try to be there as much as possible. So when I do go away, it's not that big of an issue. When it comes to building that relationship, I just talk to them. I don't believe that you should talk to children like they're children. They're people too. They're little people.
I like when you say that.
They're little people. And if we want them to have a certain level of respect for us, I believe we should show that respect too. That doesn't mean you don't discipline them. That's what you do as a parent. But I show my kids respect, and then that they give it right back. I don't tolerate anything less than respect. I don't disrespect them on any level, so I expect it back in return. So I just talk to them. I've had conversations. I probably only had to beat my son maybe once or twice because he got the word. He felt me. Of course, I gave him the look of death quite a few times. I established the look of death.
You did something.
I established the look of death early. So when I look at them, they know they need to stop whatever they're doing or, change whatever it is they're doing. But it's just respect. I respect my kids. They respect me. Real conversations early. My son, he's older. He's, out of high school. I remember having conversations with him about sex at 8 years old. Not in detail, but, just what, I use the official terms. Everything has a a proper term for it,
Yeah.
Those private parts, they're not private parts. Yes, we use that, but they have a term for them. So I use those terms with them to educate them. I feel like if I have the conversations with them first, when they go out in the real world and they're faced with this thing, hopefully they'll make the right decisions.
Let's talk about attraction for a second. Um, and I know you're real big on like becoming, that thing which you want to attract. 'Cause I know a lot of people, they want money, they want love, they want success, but they're not that person yet. So what steps did you take? Do you think that you had to take in order for you to be and to start attracting the things that you want in life?
The biggest thing was reading. Um, Up until I was maybe 28 years old, I really didn't read that much. After I left school, you know how it is. You leave school, you're like, I'm done. I don't want to see another book. I don't want to do anything else. Well, when I started reading more and I got involved with networking opportunity, I started meeting a lot of different people. I started meeting different millionaires and watching what they were doing and listening to what they were saying, and that changed me. At one point I would read one book every 2 years. Now I'm reading 4 or 5 books at one time because I crave the knowledge so much, and one little phrase in a book can change your perspective forever. And I think that's what happened. Not to mention my infatuation with business, understanding business, that really changed me. And when you just see whatever, you see these people out here moving, you want to be like them if that's what you want for yourself.
Right.
Like you said, if you understand attraction, you have to begin to think, move, and act like that person you want to be tomorrow, today. So I read a lot. I have some great mentors in my network. Again, shout out to Stan Richards, Marty Lynn, some good people that I've come up with, and I've watched them, and they taught me a lot.
Now talk about being a role model, for your kids. I know a lot of parents, um, they don't they don't really think it's necessary. They tell the kids, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, but whole time, they're acting like something else. So how
Yeah,
how have you dealt with
simple.
that?
Um, you can be a hypocrite. Some parents believe it's okay for them to say, don't do that while they may be smoking in front of their kids, drinking, cussing in front of their kids. Well, what you think your kid gonna turn into?
Right.
T.D. Jakes had a quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but the gist of it was, you can't teach what you are not. If you expect your kids to do something that you're not, you better believe it, they're not going to do it. Unless they're that extraordinary kids. There's extraordinary kids who don't become their parents. I think, but God has a plan for all of them. Just like I know my kids, God has a plan for my kids. I'm just their shepherd while, they're young. But when they get older, they're going to do their own thing. But, you can't teach your kids what you want. And I don't really try to stretch beyond and say nothing, beyond what I am. Simple. I just do what I'm supposed to do, get up, grind, come home, tell them my stories, try to push them to be better than me. I keep it simple, man.
Rob Douglas's best childhood memories.
I'm the youngest of 6. Childhood memories like those ones I say I learned art and spending a lot of time with my family. My uncle got me into cars. My brother got me into sports. So I learned how to swim through them. So those times were great. But being the youngest of 6, it got to a point where I pretty much kind of grew up like an only child. So my best friends from the neighborhood became more like my brothers, and some of the women I've known through elementary school on to high school have become like my sisters. So man, riding bikes, playing basketball, stuff like the apartment complex we lived in, jumping the fence at night, taking dives in the pool with all your clothes on. Just the stuff. Being a kid, man.
Yeah.
Playing basketball in high school. Those are some of my fondest memories.
I want you to talk about the money advice. I know a lot of times, I don't have any kids yet, but I know sometimes parents can kind of go overboard when it comes to spoiling their kids, or giving, they know they don't have X amount of money in the bank, but they'll spend their credit cards. So how did you avoid, and I know we all like nice things, like to give our kids stuff we may or may not have, but how do you discipline yourself, to not go, overboard with your kids' requests or demands?
I think that's different with everybody. Everybody has a different thing. I think that's based on how you came up.
Yeah.
I know a lot of parents want to give their kids what they didn't have. I was just speaking to a young lady today at work. She was stating that she does so much for kids. She does these birthday parties, and she has characters come out, and she has people dress up as characters, and she gets Air Force One spray painted especially for him, and custom jackets made. He's only 4 years old.
Wow.
I don't remember a birthday past maybe 7 years old. So I know for my kids early on, I don't believe in spending all that if they're not going to remember it. That's what pictures are for, yeah. Well, however, spending a lot of money, and I'll tell you where it changed for me one time. I had that mentality, man, let's get him whatever he needs. One day I went out, I probably spent $200 on jeans and probably close to $300 on shirts.
Yeah.
And he couldn't wear that stuff 2 or 3 months later. Wow. So I felt like all that money went down the drain. So I was like, wait a minute, we got to taper this back. So that's when it came into perspective for me. But you do what you can. I believe that if you make it special all the time, they become bored with that. And it loses its luster if you continually giving them the biggest birthday and the biggest things every year, year after year. I get to know my kids. I find out what matters to them most. Same thing with my son. Christmas after Christmas, I bought him Hot Wheels and race car sets. We'd set it up on Christmas Day, and he wouldn't touch it after that. Watch my kids. If they don't touch it, I don't get it. If it's something that they're into that I know that matters to them, then I get those things. To me, the smaller things matter most. But that's how it worked out for my budget. They're into what they're into, and beyond that, they're really not interested. And sometimes we try to give our kids what we're interested in, what we like, and they really may not be into that thing, so you may waste it. So I learned early.
So how did you, like, especially with your son being older with what he wants to do, how did you not, push your kids to be something that they don't want to be in, like a lot of parents out here?
Learning them, but more importantly, exposing them early. With my son, my daughter's 6, so she's about to get exposed to an entirely different world. But my son, I just exposed him to everything. Put him in French immersion. I think he did a little bit of Spanish immersion in school. He played baseball. He played basketball. He played football. Introduced him to golf. He's played chess. He's played softball, baseball. He's been introduced to art and graphics through me. Now he's starting to talk about business. He just brought an idea to me that one of his friends, he and his friends I just try to expose him to the world. He had a love for cars, so he eventually wants to open his own restoration and custom sports shop. So I just expose them to as much as possible, even things beyond my world and what I focus on, what they're going to be. As I mentioned earlier, I'm just their shepherd for this little bit of time. God has a vision and a plan for their lives, and I have to trust it and just do my part, because they're going to find their way.
Let's talk a little bit about your art. I know people, tell them exactly where they can see some pieces, what you have coming up next, and kind of like walk them through the process of you coming up with the idea. I guess start painting, and then you developing, like we talked about earlier, the vision, to create this platform. And how does somebody kind of, if they want to create their own platform, especially with being an artist and providing that, how do they do that, like yourself?
First, you can find my work at robdouglasart.com. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at robdouglasart. You'll see my pieces on there. I'm working on a new set of stuff for our upcoming show, which we'll probably do in September or October. Building a platform, being older, I'm not a young man, so I don't have the patience nor the time. I'm an artist. We're building this art platform. There's a band I manage, through a friend of mine who asked me to assist him with that. I'm not thinking about it. I'm actually working on designs for an urban streetwear brand. So I don't really have the time to chase people down to try to get them to look at my art. Part of the reason that Drawn Together was birthed, follow us at D2G experiences.com. You can check out the website. We got the information there. But we built this platform to draw people to us, to attract people to us. I built my platform through the word of mouth and putting out quality work. I'm a big believer in just because you put stuff on a canvas don't mean you're an artist.
That is true.
I think style is what makes you an artist, and not everybody has style. You have to learn and develop that. It took me years to develop my style, which I got from my partner. I think style is what makes you an artist and what makes your work attractive. So I built the platform through word of mouth, through our D2G platform, and it's just been continuing to grow, putting the work out on a regular basis. And creating my art is simple. It's just what I want to depict. I want to depict strong, powerful African Americans and make it beautiful to the world. With so much negativity surrounding us in the news, and the killings, and the police and what they're doing. There's a lot of hate out there being spewed about us, which isn't true, which was created by someone else. When people see my artwork, that's what I want them to see, for powerful people. It comes from my work.
And what problems, do you hope to solve through your art and through your platforms?
That's a great question. Because beyond the beautiful, powerful imagery, through my personal work, I haven't really thought beyond that. I just, you know, again, I want to change what people think about us when they see us. When they see us walking down the street, I want them to see power. I want them to look at this in these images. You know, another thing I try to make my images look as fly. You know, I try to represent the times, the head colors, the everything. So when they see women or men walking down the street and they look like this, I want them to take a second look. You know, don't judge the book by its cover. Understand our story, what we've gone through, and where we've come from to get here. But also understand that we've done a lot of things in this world. Hip hop. Hip hop is a worldwide genre. It's now the #1 stream music in the world. So we did that.
Yeah.
So when you see us, know that too. Don't just see these people that you think is thugs or they don't have nothing going on in their head. Make sure you respect us and you know who we are. So that's what I try to depict in my image. Through the D2G platform, we want to bring art to the world. You know, everybody can't be Picasso. Everybody can't be seen in some of these staunchy galleries where, for instance, there's a gallery in DC, I'm not going to say the name, they want $9,000. They want you to rent it out for $9,000 for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's ridiculous. There's not a lot of venues in the city for artists who are trying to get a name out. We started D2G also because we believe there's a renaissance going on. And, you know, you have street artists being displayed in galleries now. People that who may not have been able to make it because Pablo Picasso, they're looking for the next Rembrandt and all of these people. Well, there's artists out here who have that type of work, but they're not depicting those images. So, you know, through the D2G platform, we hope to bring the up and coming artists. Who's the next Picasso? Who's the next Basquiat? That's what we hope to accomplish with our platform. But again, in that same platform, you know, the networking, we want the resources in the room. So you're not just coming around looking at art on the wall. You can network at these events. You know, you might meet a VC or a lawyer to help you get your business to the next level. You know, you may meet someone in the room that can have your blessing to get your business to the next level. So that's a big part of what we want to accomplish, D2G as well.
I know a lot of people, like I said, again, you know, as they're learning from you, from social media, how are you able to have, you know, such a huge heart? And along with that, you're always giving information, you know, as Kevin Hart said, you're never stingy with information. So how are you able to do that?
I'm a big believer in, you know, you get what you put out. I give what I want in return.
Mm-hmm.
Where I give a blessing, I know it may not come back from that. So when it comes to information, again, my goal is to make an impact and be a man of value. So I give the information freely. I know God gonna handle me on the back end. You know, again, it just comes down to doing that work. Doing that work, you know, not being stuck on yourself. You know, again, if you're one of these people who say you're bigger than most people, you know, be bigger. So I try to be bigger. I try to make an impact in people's lives. I try to add value. And I know when it's time for me and I need something or I ask for something, you know, I get it no problem.
Now, getting back to the fathers, and I know how you're going to keep it honest with my listeners. This is so good. We are actually supposed to play some music today because Mr. Rob Douglas is dropping so many jewels. I decided not to play any music because I felt like everybody's going to get a lot of value out of this interview today. And I see our numbers are jumping up as right now. So, you know, how, as a man, you know, when is it acceptable to introduce your kids to your woman?
That's a sensitive thing. Kids, if they like you, they'll latch on quick. If kids feel a great vibe from you and they feel like they can have fun with you, they latch on quickly. So if it's not something that you're going to be serious about, first off, I don't believe, this is my philosophy, right?
Yes.
I've never had a girlfriend that I didn't foresee a future with. If I don't foresee a future with me, I don't really see a point in us being boyfriend, girlfriend, first off.
Right.
even in that situation, when you see someone, you're involved with someone, and you see it being seriously, I think you still have to tippy toe around that thing and what you show your kids, out of respect for your kids, because they see everything and they observe everything. They're sponges. So you have to be very, very careful. Even when you introduce that significant person, I think there should be a limited amount of contact in regards to what you and your significant other do around the kids, because they have to get to know you. I may have known you for 3 years or whatever it may be, 2 years up front. They have to get to know you. And I think it should be a filling out process with the kids as well. I don't think you should force anyone on your kids. That person needs to respect your kids and get to know your kids and build a relationship with them just as they did with the significant other. So it's a very, very sensitive thing. You'll know when the time is right. I can't really say when it's right, but you'll know.
So what about what about the kids who, have you ever dealt with somebody and the kids don't like that person, or would that matter? I know for some parents out here, the kids don't like who they're talking to or who they're dating, they end up marrying that person. So what are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I think sometimes those scenarios are usually, and kids can sense it. It's a respect thing. Kids want respect too.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, you with their mother or their father. So you better show some respect. If you don't, if you try to force yourself on kids, I think back to me. When my mother and my father separated, I didn't appreciate when people try to force themselves on me. Get to know me before you try to, oh man, let's go hang out. No, I don't really know you like that.
Right.
So I think back to, again, myself, and I situation, I've dealt with it accordingly. I get to know the kids. I take my time. I don't try to force myself. I try to build a relationship and a rapport. Have real conversations. Find out what's going on. Ask them how their day is. Like I said, they're little people. So that's how I've gotten respect in the past.
So what is the ultimate vision, for yourself and for your brand?
Everything I paint, let's deal with the artist side of things. Everything I paint. So Basquiat, I think he just recently had a piece sell for 110 million. When it's all said and done, I definitely want pieces hanging in the African American Arts and Culture building down on 14th Street. But I want it to be known worldwide. And I want these pieces to go for 200 million when it's all said and done. In the multi-millions of dollars before I leave here. But also just to have that ability to transfer that wealth to my family. My kids will have pieces that will never be displayed, and that'd be intentional. So when it's that time, if they need to make that move, those pieces will be available. But yeah, I want to be worldwide, high in demand, but low key, if that's possible. I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah, that ain't gonna be possible, especially with me. That ain't gonna be possible.
Yeah, I'm not into the fame. I could care less about the fame. I don't want to be famous. I want to leave a legacy for my kids and my family. So when I leave here, my kids, their kids, they'll be able to take their kids somewhere and say, hey, that's granddad's work, or that's great granddad's work. I actually took them to see my piece down at the Smithsonian at the Ripley Center. Funny thing, my daughter, she's 6, she ain't want to see it. She ain't want to have nothing to do with it. But my son, when I went to the reception, I took him there so he can, he can dream and go after what he wanted to go after. But yeah, that's the goal.
Well, I thank you for coming on my show. It means a lot to me.
This is
well overdue. If you haven't looked at Rob Douglas's page, he's not only handsome, and he's mine, right? But I mean, he has a huge heart. Like I said, this was definitely overdue. I know you guys got a lot of value out of what he said today. Definitely be on the lookout for him and all of his pieces and D2G and so forth. So I want to wish you a happy early Father's Day, even though it's every day. And like I said, you definitely want to follow him. Give people again your information.
RobDouglasArt.com, Rob Douglas Art on Facebook, Instagram. Definitely check me out. I'm working on a new piece. The word is fire. I like to hear what people say, and everyone's loving it. So check me out there. Definitely subscribe to RobDouglasArt.com. You can send me an email, join the list, send me some info. But get in touch with me, man. Let's connect, let's build, and let's do something together.
All right. Well, you guys are listening to Kat Harvey. That is me of the Kat Harvey Show. I will be here every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. giving you one of the best shows on earth, presenting people like Rob Douglas, who's going to join us again.